Mm. I need you in my life. Need you in. In my home, I need you in my, need you in my life. Mm. You guys, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to having a great time, and this is we're just having like a pre conference event. The actual conference is going to be next weekend. It's themed wholeness, and I'm really really excited about what God is going to do through that event. Today, I'm just going to share a few things. I'm going to be interviewing with Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo, and then we'll share a few things. And again, the goal is to get you to start to see how you can prepare for the conference. It's one thing to say you want to have a conference, it's another thing to come there and say, I don't want to just have an event. I'm looking forward to having an encounter with God. Because one of the things that I wanted to share with you is, how's your relationship working for you right now? How is your marriage working for you right now with all the things that you're doing or not doing? um, how is it really working for you? And I'm sure you've been to different marriage meetings. I'm sure you've read books on marriage. I'm sure you've attended different conferences. But what's going to be different about this conference? There's that one meeting that you would have, and it would be the beginning of meetings. And that is what I'm hoping and trusting that this conference will be. So come very expectant, come ready to leave your current ways and experience newness and experience wholeness. A few things that I'll share as we get started is, a lot of times uh, people do not take time to count the cost of certain things, including marriage. Um, the Bible lets us know from Luke chapter 14, verse 28. It says, which one of you intending to build a tower will not first sit down to count the cost to see if he is able to build? And then it goes on to say that you will start and you're not able to finish, and then people will look at you and laugh. That this guy started something, paraphrasing now, this guy started something and he was not able to finish it. And in that vein, or in that token, let's look at relationship from that standpoint. A lot of people start relationships without taking time to count the cost of that relationship. They don't take time to do the inventory. Can I afford to get married? Not talking financial here, but can I afford? Looking at my own life, can I afford to get married? And those that are already married, particularly in the early years of their marriage, those that are married right now, um, how can I, people, particularly when you do not anticipate the cost, how can my marriage be better? What are the things that I need to navigate in this early years of my marriage? What are the things that I need to work on in this early years of my marriage? Those are some of the things that we're talking about. I'll be asking specific questions to my guest today, and then we would dissect some of those things. And then also, how was he, or how has he been able to navigate the early years of his marriage? We'll talk about some of those things. Again, the goal is to, how do I take the time to sit down to count the cost of my relationship? Is this something that I can afford? um, Is this something that I can afford? If not, then how can I navigate it? Otherwise, am I able to pay the price? Can I afford? Now, some of these costs are marriage. Sorry, some of these costs of marriage are your maturity. Am I mature enough to pay the price to have a marriage that would last? Do I have what it takes to build my marriage? Is my marriage um, is my marriage, does it have what it takes to bear the weight of what it is that I'm looking for? So there are costs that you and I need to take down and just
Yeah.
can afford it.
There you go. No, but I'm
um
sure they will see. Is my video audio on?
my I can hear to pay the price to have a marriage that lasts. Am I Do I have what it takes to build my marriage? Is my marriage, does it have what it takes to bear the weight of what it is? Pastor Kingsley, I can see you now.
Yes.
It
How
is
are
it
you?
is it is good to have you. I know there's some echoes in the background that are working through it, and I'm excited to have you here with us this evening as we
Yeah.
start to
Thank
prepare
you.
for this. Again, you are not a stranger in the marriage and relationship space. I mean, you're known internationally. You're known all over the world. You've authored several books. You're the senior pastor of David Christian Center with two locations in Nigeria, on the island and on the mainland. I recently just picked up some of your materials, and I'm blown away to say the least. I mean, A to Z of marriage is something that I think everybody out there, literally, you need to get that book. It will answer tons and tons of questions. But for me as a person, I see marriage as I don't know. I try to learn about marriage as much as I can. I don't think that there's one marriage expert. So when I see somebody doing great and amazing things, I am ready to just roll up my sleeve and try to suck as much as I can. I would not waste much of your time. I'll go straight right into it. There are a few questions that I want to ask you. And so when I look at Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo today, I mean, you're married, you have three kids, you're you're an expert, so to speak, when it comes to marriage and relationship. So let's talk about that, right? It's easy for me and people outside to say, okay, you're talking and teaching about marriage, but how did you navigate the early years of your marriage? I mean, going back to when you just got married, 15 years ago, I believe it was. Navigating that, how did you navigate the early years of your marriage?
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Toyosi. This is a good platform. I'm glad to be here. And I love what you're doing. We need
Thank you,
more
sir.
and more people to help build the structures of marriages all over the world.
Yeah,
So this is great. This is commendable. Well done. Please keep
thank you, sir.
up the good work. Unfortunately, this conference was meant to be live when we planned it, so
Right,
I'm
right.
sure we'll have another one
Absolutely,
once the
absolutely,
lockdown is over.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm sure. All right. So, um, interestingly for me, the first few years of my marriage was pretty okay. It was good. I don't know if it's because I knew quite a lot about marriage. So it was a bit, I had started teaching about marriage years before I got married.
Mm-hmm,
So, most of the things I have in my books and that I teach, they are not theory.
mm-hmm.
They are things that have worked for me. They are things
Yep.
I have used. That's why I was even confident to recommend the same wisdom for young people. So interestingly, my wife is the first person I dated as a Christian. In fact, to be honest, she's practically the first person I've dated all my life in terms of
Mm-hmm,
real
mm-hmm,
you know
mm-hmm,
so I don't believe you have to kiss many frogs to find your prince charming. I don't think so. The problem is usually a lack of knowledge.
right.
So people make a lot of mistakes first
Mm,
before they now come into knowledge. And it doesn't have to be so.
right.
If you start learning on time, just like you mentioned, the scripture you mentioned about counting the cost, if you
Yep.
start learning on time,
Yep.
and applying wisdom, you can have it smooth.
Mm, mm, mm,
It's not compulsory that you make a lot of mistakes first.
right. Right.
So, in terms of the marriage itself, it had pretty much been good. We covered quite the things I taught in my book, Who Should I Marry?
Yes.
I mentioned about 10 things that you should choose when you should look at when you're choosing somebody. So I was able to look at those things. In fact, the truth of it, like I said, my first few books were based on how God helped me navigate that all that
Mm,
phase. So
mm.
it starts from when am I ready? Before you can't choose beyond the knowledge that you have. You can't choose beyond knowledge I have. So, tell us, so what do you do as your other career before you started doing relationship ministry? What do you do?
So right, I'm a finance and accounting. So I have an MBA. There, that's me, 9 to 5.
Beautiful. So beautiful. So there are things you can do now because of the training and the experience you have in finance.
Yep,
There are documents you can read easily. There are
yep.
things you can do that I will not be able to do.
Mm,
All
mm,
right. It's just that simple. I will
mm,
not be able to do it because I'm not trained like you to do it.
mm,
So you can't choose a better spouse beyond the knowledge you have. What happens to many people is that they're trying to fish for a husband or a wife without adequate knowledge. If you're not trained, you can't pick out a good wife. You will
mm.
just pick something based on the knowledge that
That
you
you
have,
have.
which might not be sufficient. If you are going to buy a house, the person you ask is a good realtor. If you are going to buy a car, especially like in Africa, for instance, if you're going to buy a car, the person you ask is a mechanic.
Mm,
Somebody knowledgeable about it.
yep.
You don't take your doctor to go and pick a good car for you.
Mm,
It might not be knowledgeable enough to pick that. So it starts by when am I ready? That's my first book. Jump to my second book, Wrong Reasons People Enter Relationships. So, I knew most of these things. I knew why I shouldn't get married. You need to know the wrong reasons that motivate you. A lot of people enter for the wrong reasons. And I said in that book, if you marry for the wrong reason, you have most likely married the wrong person.
person. That's
All
right.
right. So that's one. Then you jump to who should I marry? And now moved into the characteristics that you should look for, when you are picking somebody. So I went from the person, if you're a Christian, the person should be in Christ with you. Then you should check their character because not everybody in Christ that has character yet, that has the
Yep.
character of Christ yet. So the character, then you check compatibility. Are we compatible in terms of things like our temperament, our visions, our lifestyles? Are we compatible? Then from there, you will see things like companionship. Are we friends? Can we talk? If even if we're not getting married, can we hang out together and enjoy each other's company?
Right.
And on and on and on. So the point is that, for me, I actually knew these things, and my wife was the first person I ever dated. Now, I had people I liked or got close to, but in terms of moving to a relationship proper, in terms of getting it serious, I knew what I was looking for, and I was willing to wait no matter how long it took to get there. Amongst my friends, I'm among like the last that got married
Mm,
because I was willing to wait. I knew what I was looking for.
mm,
So the fact, to be honest with you, the marriage has been smooth in
mm,
itself. The only places we've had challenges are things outside the marriage. So,
mm.
for instance, things like poverty.
Okay.
When we got married, we didn't really have much. So that one
Right.
is that's not between both of us having issues with ourselves. It's an external factor,
Right.
you know.
Right. Right. Right.
So it was poverty. But you see, the love we had and the understanding we had, we never had the quarrel that time.
Mm,
And it was, we're laughing some days ago. We're taking a walk some days ago, and we're laughing because she was saying that she actually kept the receipt of the first fridge that we bought. One
mm,
small fridge like this. That was the first fridge we ever bought, and it was a big breakthrough. Then it was a big
mm.
blessing. Somebody gave us as a wedding gift or so,
Got
the money to go and buy it. So, we didn't have money basically. There was no money. We survived. We sometimes we couldn't eat. Sometimes we didn't have soap at home. We didn't have toothpaste and all that at home. So those were external things, but the marriage itself, for both of us, was smooth. We had no issues. We loved each other. We endured and enjoyed whatever phase we went to. Another external factor we dealt with was infertility.
mm,
It took us about 8 years to have our first biological
mm,
child, for
mm,
instance. So you
mm,
see, that's an external thing too.
mm.
It wasn't our making,
Right.
and
Right.
it didn't affect us. It didn't affect us. In that 8 years, I never spoke to her anyhow. My in-laws never came to harass her because I protected her, and all that. So for us, that's pretty much been smooth. It has pretty much been smooth. It hasn't been dramatic at all.
I think that that is very, very humbling. And here's why I say that. A lot of times people get married and then they buy marriage book and then they see where they made the mistake and now their
Mm-hmm.
challenges, they're trying to fix it. And that's one of the reasons why, I mean, when I read like I said, I just got the A to Z of marriage and I've ordered some of the other of your marriage materials. It helps understand that, look, I need to seek information first before I make a decision on where I'm going.
Yes.
And marriage, sometimes when I tell singles, it's kind of like, I love this person, I love this. You're basing everything on feelings. When you get married and then you start to navigate that first
Yeah.
years, now you guys are together, and research shows that finances, those two things that you just said are
Yeah.
external factors. Those are
Yeah.
one of the things people get divorced from.
Yes.
Finances is huge. You would rarely find somebody that will say, look, this person is struggling financially, but I love him, I'll just stay with him now. And
Yeah.
that's a function of what you know, not what you're saying. It's based on, I know something about this person. One time you said something about, you don't marry potential, you marry patterns.
Yes.
And looking at that person's pattern, that person has been able to establish, look, if you this financial issue that I'm facing is just for a short while. So now let's switch gears just a little bit. So from your own experience, you had the information. I mean, you had the gifting, you have the calling, the grace, and God taught you those things before you got married. Now let's talk about John and Mary that did not have that. So now they're married. They are in the early years of their marriage, and then there's conflict, right? So John, I mean, and they're Christians. They love God, but they are navigating. I mean, there are different issues that they're facing in these early years of their marriage. And I'll close with this question. A lot of times when I talk to singles, they argue, and when they argue, sorry, married folks, they argue, and based on that argument, they feel like they married the wrong person. So
Mm.
those are some of the reasons. So my question is, um, what should that couple do that they're experiencing friction now in their marriage because they are getting new materials that now they're beginning to see, oh, I made a mistake here, oh, I made a mistake there, and things like that. What would your advice be to them?
Okay. Jesus made a statement, when he was talking to the Pharisees and co, they were asking him about divorce, and he was trying to tell them that divorce was never in the plan.
Mm,
And he taught us the strongest reason for divorce because many people think it's finance or infidelity or all those things that causes divorce. All those things are really not the issue.
mm.
The main thing that causes divorce is unwillingness to change.
Yep.
And Jesus called it hardness of heart.
Yep, that's right.
He told them the reason why Moses allowed you to divorce is because of the hardness of your heart. He didn't say it's because of somebody cheated. He didn't say it's because somebody could not cook. He didn't say it's because of money. He didn't say it's because of in-laws. He said principally is the hardness of your heart.
Yep.
When people become hardened to the point where they are not willing to be flexible, they are not
Yep.
willing to adjust.
Mm,
There are 7 stages in every relationship,
mm.
and the stage where most people fail is the adjustment
Okay,
stage.
that's right.
There are 7. There's attraction, attachment, and different stages. Though the stage of adjustment, this is where many people don't cross. So the guy moves from being single to being married. He doesn't want to adjust to the new reality. He doesn't want to adjust now to be accountable. You
Mm,
see, when he was single, he goes out and comes back anytime he likes. When
mm,
he was single, he spends his money anyhow he likes.
mm,
Now he's married.
mm,
He doesn't want to be accountable. He
mm.
just wants to continue living like a single man living with a woman. It
Yep,
doesn't work
yep,
like that.
yep,
He has
yep,
to adjust.
yep.
Same thing with the woman. There were a lot of things we were doing anyhow you liked before, but we could entertain guys calling you. You could do anything. Now you're married, you have to adjust. At
Right.
that point, many people don't cross that line. And the 2 steps above that are powerful steps. One of it is agreement stage. Many people never get to that point because when you get to that point of agreement, your marriage becomes a miracle working marriage. There's
Mm,
nothing you can achieve. I've
mm,
told people many times that there's nothing I and my wife have agreed about that we've not been able to do.
mm.
Because once we agreed, Jesus Christ said, if two or more of you shall agree as touching anything,
Yep,
it shall be done.
yep,
And we've seen it in our lives. Once we agree about something, it always happens.
yep.
But many couples don't get to this point of agreement
Mm,
because they can't adjust.
mm.
They're always, dealing with, oh, I don't, this is how I've always done this thing. This is how I've always done this thing. So what they need basically is the willingness. And that's what I look out for. When I'm talking to a couple going through crisis, the first thing I want to establish is that are both of you willing to change? We'll get to the details as we do the counseling or the therapy.
Mm,
But I need to know both of you are willing because if you're not willing, we're wasting our time. No matter how great the principles or therapy steps that I bring, if both of you are not willing, I can't force you. You have to be willing. So
yep,
once you're willing, yes, the steps might be hard,
mm,
but there's nothing a willing, like I normally say, if you're willing, nothing can stop you.
yep,
And if you're unwilling, nothing can move you.
yep,
you
yep,
know so that's how it is. Once you are willing, yes, the journey might be tough, you might be clueless as to it, but that's why we are here. That's why you have a lot of good coaches. And the interesting thing about the way our mind works, once your mind is really ready and hungry for something, God has a way of sending you the knowledge,
mm,
in small things. It might be a
mm,
post somebody put, might be a comment somewhere, somehow you stumble on that knowledge that you need. But you see, most people are not even willing.
mm,
So even if an angel appears with a
mm.
red cap in
Yep,
their parlor,
Yep.
they will still not be willing to change. So that's the issue. So the key is basically willingness. That's what I'll
Mm.
say.
Mm.
Willingness.
I think so. Yeah, you are spot on. I mean, as you're talking, the scripture that comes to mind is Genesis when we're building the Tower of Babel, and God Himself says, "Look, if these
Exactly.
people have decided in their heart, then there
Yes.
will be nothing
Nothing.
impossible for
Yes.
them." And
Yes.
that's the aim of division in the home. The husband is
Yes.
seeing it this way, and the wife is seeing it a different way,
Exactly.
and then they are both not willing to change to be
Yes.
able to
And division gives birth to divorce.
exactly,
They are both
exactly,
die.
exactly.
Division, divorce.
So now let's talk about sex and marriage.
Yeah.
You recently just talked about things that did. I think the title was
What
things
nobody
that
tells you about.
what nobody tells you about sex, and there are two scenarios that came to my mind as I was listening to that teaching. So there's this. The first scenario is John. Let's just call John. John
Yeah.
he had a past. He slept with different people before. He had a past. Now he's born again, and then now John comes to church, and then he gets married to Mary. Mary has
Yes.
always been in church. She's kept herself. She's not been promiscuous or whatnot. Now they get married, but John hasn't been able to detach from his past, and he
Yes.
brings that into his marriage. um
Mhm.
what would your advice be for Mary, right? Because Mary's so I mean, not to go into graphics, but John is saying, well, this is how sex should be, and Mary is saying, no, this is not how sex should be. There's that conflict because they have two different backgrounds, and now they're in Christ, they're in the church, but for whatever reason the church shies away from addressing things about sex, and it's kind of like, we don't let's just glaze over it with the hopes that something will happen. So, what would your advice be for John and Mary that different backgrounds from a sexual standpoint, but they are both born again now? And again, let's assume that they're willing to change.
Okay. Like I said, the first key is willingness. But if you say they are willing to change,
Yep.
then they need to understand that sexual compatibility is not discovered; it is developed. All right.
Ah.
Sexual compatibility is not discovered, it's developed. Because this is what some single unbelievers or even some single believers say, that the
Mm,
reason why they're testing many girls or
yep.
testing many guys is to make sure they find sexual compatibility. And the
Mm,
issue is that sexual compatibility is not discovered, it is developed. No matter
mm,
who you marry,
mm.
if both of you, really God designed it. And interestingly, I've wedded a lot of virgins. In fact, I've almost wedded more virgins than non-virgins. So
Wow.
the devil should not make people feel that you must be promiscuous. It doesn't.
Yep.
There are many people that are living right.
Mm,
So what God intended is that both of you will explore each other's body. You will constantly communicate
mm,
to say, oh, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and then you find a way to pleasure that your spouse. So those are the things you explore each other, you communicate. Oh, I like this thing, I don't like this thing, and the way God did it, this is supposed to last you a lifetime. Because remember, you're going to marry to this person for a lifetime.
right.
Most people don't think like that. They're thinking
Mm,
of just 1 year, thinking of
mm,
1 month.
right.
If
Right.
you, some people have finished the honey before they got to the honeymoon.
Mm,
So the
mm,
marriage
mm,
is
mm,
already
mm,
on a
mm, mm,
downward spiral. The passion is already on a downward spiral before the marriage started.
mm,
I
mm,
mean,
mm,
from day one, they are, in fact, the honeymoon, the first night, wedding night is boring because
mm,
there's nothing they want to do on wedding night
mm,
that they have
mm,
not done
mm,
enough of before. So all those things negate the whole thing. So the key is that we need to explore each other. We need to listen to each other. What do you like? What do you not like? What should I do more of? What shouldn't I do? Then we must be willing to commit to actually doing what my partner wants.
mm,
If both parties can understand that my assignment in this marriage is to please you, and the other person understands the assignment is to please the other person, then the only issues they will have in this marriage is trying to do too much for each other, not doing
mm,
too little.
mm,
So, but in most marriages, is the opposite because they have not yet understood that marriage is not a selfish thing; it's a selfless thing. So
mm,
anybody can have great sex if they work towards it.
mm,
If they begin to learn about each other and also learn about sex generally, which it should not be an off topic. It's not be off topic for married people,
right.
and you mustn't learn from pornography. You
Mm,
can learn. There are a lot of good books that are Christian books or even decent books that talk about sex without it being vulgar or showing you images of other people having sex or things like that. Genuine things that will teach you about sex. So it's pretty easy. No matter who you are, both of you can enjoy sex. That's how God designed it. No matter who you are, you can come together, learn about each other, and commit to doing it. Oh, this is what I like. This is what I do not like. I like more of this. And then if it's something that contradicts, maybe that goes against each other, so you plan. So one day we pleasure this person, another
mm,
day we
pleasure.
attend to this person.
Right.
So that's how it's done. It's not everything. Yes, there are times where it's not everything a man likes that a woman likes. So we must compromise. So today we'll do what you like to make you happy. Next time we'll do what the other person. Everything in life is really, I hardly see why people need to fight, because choose that if you are following the basic principles of marriage in the Bible, marriage should work. So it should be as easy as anything.
Yeah, one of the theme that I'm hearing from most of the answers that you're giving are a few things. The first thing is you need to be open in terms of doing the work. Am I
Mm,
committed to doing this work? Am I
mm,
committed to saying, okay, now that I'm married, let me shift my mindset. What do I have to do to get the kind of marriage I want, to get the
mm,
kind of spouse that I want, to be the kind of husband that my wife would enjoy, and then vice versa, to be the kind of wife. A lot of times people underestimate the what it takes to have a great marriage. They
yeah.
see Facebook and Instagram and people going on vacation and they think that that's all there is to it, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of work. So let's switch gears a little bit. Yeah, Pastor, sir.
Mhm.
What do you think the role of the church is in terms of building the marriage and family unit? The reason why I say that is, on the average, most people, most even Christians, they don't read books on marriage
Yeah.
until they're about to get married. Because I
Yeah.
don't want to, I don't want to seem like I'm desperate, or I'm not
Yeah.
desperate, but they do other things, right? And then they rely heavily on that 16 to 18 hours of pre-marriage counseling, depending on
Yeah.
what church you go to. They rely
Mhm.
heavily on those things, and those things most time is just a breeze. They don't cover in depth on a lot of things.
Mm,
But now that you're married, there are issues, and you're thinking, but you're a Christian and I'm a Christian. Why are we facing this issue in our marriage? So,
mm.
what do you think the role of the church is in fortifying or helping build godly marriages?
Yeah, we just have to be a bit more deliberate about building the culture, that it takes to succeed in marriage. I just think we've been doing it, but it hasn't been as deliberate as it should be. And
Mm,
thank God for people like you and people like me these days, and more people are rising.
mm,
There's just more attention being paid to that area now than it used to be before.
mm,
I was telling somebody yesterday on a live show that I've been looking at the marriages of old, and I said, I feel they actually had relationship coaches then. I
mm,
feel they had family therapists then. They probably
mm,
didn't call them family therapists. They
mm,
probably didn't call them relationship counselors, but
mm,
they had people that helped build certain cultures in marriage of those days that
mm,
made their marriages then survive more,
mm,
than the ones of today. And I gave some examples. For instance, in those days, they knew that love was more of a commitment than a feeling,
yep.
because love has both.
Mm,
Love is both a feeling and a commitment. However, the commitment one is the stronger one. So if you notice, in those days, they didn't really wait for you to fall in love.
mm,
Somebody just goes and finds a wife for you, talks to the girl's father, and they arrange it. It doesn't matter whether the girl loves the guy or the guy loves the girl. You
yep.
see, they didn't focus more on love as a
Commitment.
feeling. They
Yep.
focused on love as a commitment. They said, just go. You like him. Go and walk. Go and marry him. And
Mm,
they survived. And their marriages then, look stronger than the ones we have now.
mm,
You know,
mm,
if you look at that area, they understood that a woman's major need, a woman needs have a father figure. A woman needs a father.
mm,
So what
mm,
a
mm,
woman is looking for, one of the needs of a woman is leadership, protection, provision. So, and remember, she gets this thing, or she normally gets this thing from her
mm.
father.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So who she's looking for when she wants to marry is a father-like figure. That
Mm,
meets a lot of her needs. Unlike today, where people date their mates.
mm,
So in those days, the guy is advanced in age. He's also advanced in career. So he's probably earning money, way more than what she has seen. So he provides, he's older than she is. So it makes it easier for her to respect him.
mm.
See, and that's a major need for a man, respect.
Yep,
So
yep.
they were manually engineering scriptural principles
Mm, mm,
of the
mm.
man providing, the man being ahead, the man, because a woman can't love somebody she does not respect. That's
Yep,
how it is for women. A woman can't love somebody she doesn't respect. So that's why today there are more clashes, because people are marrying their mates.
yep,
So sometimes, because a woman and a man at the same age are not the same mentally.
yep. That's
Women
right.
generally develop faster
Mm, mm,
mentally than men. So by the
mm,
time they're close in age, it will be difficult for that woman to respect that guy, because she's thinking way faster than that guy. She's more exposed than that guy. So there's a struggle. That's why if you notice, the affairs that happen more are usually boss and secretary affairs. They happen very easily
mm,
because there's a chemistry there that is natural. That woman respects the boss,
mm,
and the boss heart is always open to whoever is serving him.
mm,
All
mm,
right. Whoever
mm,
serves a man
mm,
gets access to the man's heart, because
mm,
men, the first reason why God created women is to help.
mm,
So a man always appreciates whoever is helping him.
mm,
So He goes to the office. The woman, the secretary is respecting him. Number one, the secretary is helping his vision. What do you want to do, sir? Oh, let me keep your appointment. Let me write up. He's helping him. Then he gets home. His wife does not respect him. He's saying, "Why are you just coming by this time?" She's calling him by name. When the girl in the office is saying, "Sir, sir, sir," she at home is saying, "John, come here. You are a useless man." You know, and all that. So that is affecting the dynamics of today. Another thing affecting dynamics of today is that those days the men just go to the farm or to the bush or whatever hunt, and by the time they come back from work, the small farm produce or money they bring home, the woman is so happy about it. She appreciates him. She say, "My husband, come and rest." She gives him water to have his bath, gives him food because she was home all day.
Yeah.
But today, the women are going to work with you.
Yeah.
So when they get back home, they have to deal with homework, they have to deal with cooking, and the man is still forming the same thing that olden days man used to form. He has gone to work, he's tired, he come and sit down and put on TV. So the woman will say, "No, we went to work together." So the women now are expecting more
Yep.
from the men, but the men want to also keep giving what the olden days men used to give. So
Mm,
these are small things that are causing friction in
mm,
the
mm,
marriages of today. That I
mm,
felt the guys of old manually engineered it. They had an idea somehow.
mm,
They were able to know that these things are necessary and they manually engineered it. But in our own time, because we were built on love as an emotion,
yep.
fall in love is a term you hear in our generation so much.
Yep.
Fall in love.
Yep.
And by the time your eyes clear from that fall in love, because I have a book I'm working on titled "You Don't Need a New Spouse."
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the amount of time I hear that word, if I got $1 every time I heard "You don't need this spouse," I'll probably be a millionaire by now.
Yep.
Because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, I married the wrong person. I don't like my husband or wife anymore. I think I made a mistake." If I count the amount of time I hear that in a day, the reason is because they got married with emotional love and they have not shifted to intentional love.
Yep.
So you get married as emotional love, but you have to change gears to intentional love. Intentional love means a time will come I won't always feel like doing what I need to do, but I continue doing it because I've committed to do it.
Yep. I,
And by the time I continue intentionally, to come back again to emotional. But
mm.
the difference between the first emotional and the second emotional, the first one happened by itself. The second emotional one is happening because of what I'm doing, which is more sustainable. I can keep it going. Yes, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I think you are spot on. I'm looking forward to that book. The reason why I say that is when I hear those questions as well is the exact that phrase that you said. I tie it to people lose that desire, right? And I tell people that the day divorce starts knocking on your door is the day you lose the desire for you to change in your marriage. Once
Mm,
that desire is gone, then divorce just starts knocking, and then you're going to start
mm,
to fight on everything. So
mm,
you're right. It's not that I get need another spouse, because sometimes you just think it's kind of like a car. Okay, this guy is giving me problem. Let me just buy a new car and then I can ride it. No, it's not. Yeah, the same issues.
So
If you
yes,
change
you're
your
going to see it
spouse,
in a new
if you
one.
have not
Yes.
changed your mindset, you're going to face that same issue. But now,
Same
guess
issue.
what? She's coming with maybe two kids now, and she's coming with
Mm,
baggage. Maybe she
mm,
had her own issues before. Now you're dealing with
mm,
more issues. So yeah,
more value.
definitely. You don't need a new spouse. Absolutely. I'm going to just a few more questions and then we'll run it. Again,
Yeah.
the goal of this was just to get people excited about what's coming next weekend. I mean, I know we're having the wholeness conference next weekend, and
Mm,
I'm really really looking forward to it. I am believing that it's not just another meeting, because one of the things that I believe in, it's their events. We've gone to meetings, but now we are believing for a change, that something will happen and connect our spirit, that will begin to cause us to think differently, that will begin to cause us, that would empower us for newness. Because sometimes it's not that we don't have information, it's that I know what to do, but I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do. As a
mm,
man, I know I need to come in and swallow my pride and be able
mm,
to deal with my wife, but I am the MD, so she needs to come. I mean, I'm not. My pride is still there. I can't swallow my
mm,
pride, right? So those are some of the things. But let me ask this question. Um, the question that I'll ask is this. So people struggle in marriage for different reasons. Not them. I'm focusing more on the married folks.
mm,
I think I'll have one more for the singles, but focus on the married folks. People are married now. They have this issue that, I mean, there's something just off in my marriage, or the only reason I'm here is because God told me. So let's talk about this. I heard God said that you're my spouse. And the only reason I'm here is because God said it. Particularly in the Christian circle. I really don't like this person. But God has said it, so I'm going to do it. Can you just speak to that dynamics? I know you wrote a book about this and addressing this question. Yes.
Yes. God doesn't impose somebody on you.
Mm,
The way it works, God just presents people around you, and because of the structure and the need, that desire that you already have, you will recognize the person
mm,
when God brings the person to you. So just like at the case of Adam, God brought animals to him. He named them, that these are animals. Then God brought Eve, and he said, "This is the bone of my bone." So it wasn't God that actually gave him the wife. God presented the wife the way he presented the animals, but Adam was able to name them. So whatever you call them, that will be the name.
mm,
So the animals, Adam named them lion, tiger. But when he saw Eve, he is the one that said, "This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh." And God said, "Carry on." So
mm,
God presents, you will still choose. So he won't impose. He might show you, he might nudge you, he might do all that because you are attached to being directed and led as a child of God. But God is not going to impose and say, "Marry this person that you don't like." So that's not really true. You
So,
know.
you're saying that God will just present. I can decide to say no, and I won't miss destiny.
That happens all the time. You people do that. People miss what God has for them. Not even just marriage, in any other
Mm,
thing,
mm,
business, job,
mm,
career. It happens every day.
mm, mm,
Not even
mm,
just marriage.
mm,
So
mm,
you have free will. God will never
mm,
take your free will. He will
mm,
always show you. He will nudge you. He will speak to you. It's up to you to obey, and that's why you can't 100% depend on God said in a marriage, because God telling me I will marry somebody, God also has to tell that person, and that person has
mm,
to be willing to obey. So if I'm saying God told me I'm wife, and the woman say I didn't hear God, or I'm not feeling it, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. I can't beat her up. I can't force her to obey God. So that's why, in my book, That Who Should I Marry, I mentioned there about conviction.
Yep.
You can't marry up based on that person's conviction.
Yep.
The guy can say he's convinced. I need to be convinced. If I'm not
Yep.
convinced, then we're not getting married. Your
Yep.
conviction is not enough for both of us. I
Yep.
need my own conviction.
Yep.
So that's what happens to many people. And many people have made those mistakes and either have missed something good that God had for them, in the sense that, they didn't want to accept somebody because they thought, God didn't approve it, or they missed somebody that they should have married and all that. So
Mm,
it has caused, or they married somebody they shouldn't have even married. They
mm,
thought it was God, and
yep.
it wasn't God.
Mm,
God would never force you to marry somebody you don't like.
mm,
When God is leading you, when you get there, it will even be better than what you thought. It can't be
mm,
worse than what you thought.
mm,
It will be better than what
mm,
you thought.
mm,
So
mm,
that's how you
mm.
know. Because for me now, I'm even loving my wife more and more every
Yes.
day. I love her more now than I loved her even when I met her.
Mm,
So it's impossible to say, "Oh, God led me," and I get in there and I don't like anything about this girl. I don't like her shape. I don't like
mm,
how she talks. I don't like
mm.
how she thinks. But I'm just
Yeah.
obeying God. Though. My brother, go and fight Boko Haram or do something else with your life. It's not true. It's not God leading you anything. You're just hearing things. So
Yeah.
you need to your leading and what you see needs to line up in a
Mm,
way. You need to see something that makes you know this is God,
mm,
and the person too has to agree. All right.
mm.
Mm.
Amen. So I would let you have the final word. I'll just say one or two things. Again, we're having this conference next week. You could let people know what to expect. It's the Wholeness Conference. And then you can please just pray for us. There is a grace that you carry concerning marriage. And I want you just to pray for people listening right now that are struggling in their marriage, or that desire the kind of marriage that you have. If you can just say one or two prayers concerning them, and then we'll just round up, sir.
All right.
Thank
My encouragement is that you can have the marriage of your dreams. In fact, that's what I believe. That's our byline for our ministry. We believe everybody can have a great marriage. If they are willing to work on it, if they are willing to be yielded to the Spirit of God. What it takes to be a good Christian is the same thing it takes to be a good marriage.
you.
Walking in love, forgiving, being patient, being tolerant, all those things that we're meant to have as Christians. It's the
Mm,
same thing that makes a marriage work. So what happens many times that people are not being good Christians, but they want to be a good husband. They are not being good Christians, they want to be a good wife. But the same
mm,
qualities. So you just have to fully yield to being a good Christian. I remember the story where one man called his pastor and said, "Pastor, I'm divorcing my wife." And the pastor ran to his house. Said, "What's the problem?" He said, "My wife is annoying me and everything." The pastor said, "The Bible says love your wife."
mm,
It's in the Bible. He said, "She's not even my wife. She has been staying in the next room
mm,
for many months now. We're not even talking."
mm,
The pastor said, "The Bible said love your neighbor."
mm,
She's in the next room. Love your
mm,
neighbor. He said, "No, she's never my neighbor. She's always insulting me and abusing me." The pastor told him, "Love your enemy." It's there. It's there. So if you
mm,
have been following these things, it'll be easy to love
mm,
somebody that you are living with. If you have been loving even somebody you don't know, as God says. So that's what I think. I think we all can have a good marriage if we are
mm,
willing to work on it and learn and attend conferences like this.
mm,
That is coming up, the Wholeness Conference with the great speakers I see there.
mm,
When you keep making these investments, even before time, well before the time. There's no way you can make a mistake because wisdom will just be ringing in your head. You will be able to identify good men, good women, you'll be able to identify good qualities.
Mm.
You know, it's amazing that many people don't even know the qualities to look out for. Just want to
Yep.
marry them. They just look at fine girl, fine boy.
Yep.
There are qualities, there are
Yep.
things to look out for
Yep.
that determines whether this person is a good match for
Yep.
you or a good fit for you where you're
Yep.
going. And so the conferences like this, I highly recommend it. And I want people to call their friends, tell their friends to attend. And let me just pray for people that are here today. Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray for the singles that are watching. Father, you're a God that can guide. You're a God that leads. You say you will order our steps. I
Mm.
ask for their steps to be ordered. The ones that are trusting you for who to marry, I ask for that divine connection to take
Amen.
place in the
Amen.
name of Jesus.
Amen.
Anybody that is hurting or anybody that has any past that is painful, I ask for your healing power. That
Amen.
past will not be a hindrance to their
Mm.
future in
Amen.
the name of Jesus. I
Amen.
also pray for those that are married here today. The wine in your marriage will not run
Mm.
dry in the
Amen.
name of Jesus. I
Amen.
pray for you that if you were running on water before, it will be turned to wine, just
Amen.
like the way Jesus turned water to wine. In
Amen.
the name of Jesus, it will be sweet,
Amen.
it will be strong, it will be
Amen.
intoxicating in the
Amen.
name of Jesus. That's how
Amen.
your love will be
Amen.
continuously in
Amen.
Jesus' name.
Amen.
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 Pastor Kingsley, thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for taking time out to at least talk to us today. Again, I'm really looking forward to next week.
Me
It's
too.
going to be exciting times. Please, guys, if you've not, you can actually get his book even here in the US. So if you are in the US and you want to get his books, they are all available on Amazon. You can go to his website, Love, Dating, and Marriage. All of the information is there. Again, they're, and one thing I like about the books is they are easy reads. It's not books, it's not like an encyclopedia, but you will get a wealth of knowledge that would save your marriage. He's been married now like 16 years and he's still smiling and he's telling you that, look, I love my wife more now. You should go and understand what he was seeing before he got married. Again, Pastor Kingsley, thank you so much for
Thank you
coming on the
very
show.
much. I
We're
enjoyed it.
absolutely, sir, and
Thank you.
definitely would have many more sessions together. Thank you
Yes,
so
we
much,
will.
and God bless. My
Thank
regards
you.
to your wife and
You will hear.
kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We're looking forward to this, and we would meet again next week. Again, it's next week, Saturday, the Wholeness Conference. It's a conference you don't want to miss. I'm telling you, it's a meeting that would change your core. Your core. I'm talking about the way you think, the way you, as a man, as a woman, your core is going to be shifted next Saturday. So come highly prepared, come highly expectant, and watch what God will do in your marriage and in your homes. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. God bless.